Reinvention isn't about becoming someone new. It's about refusing to stay who you were told you had to be. Welcome to the Voice of Impact, where belief meets action. Our podcast amplifies stories, systems, and inner shifts behind meaningful change. I am Robert Ndoping, your host. Today's conversation is about reinvention, not as a buzzword, but as a lived discipline. What happens when identity is challenged, when a chapter ends, and when the only way forward is to rewrite the story from the inside out? My guest today is Lancelot Theobald Jr. He's a former professional athlete who reinvented himself into purpose-driven performing artist, a leader, and reinvention strategist. Lancelot is an actor and a producer, co-starring in the upcoming film The Veteran, which is releasing in March of 2026, and appearing in Security Guard, currently streaming on Amazon Prime, Tubi, Roku, and other platforms. He's also a master tap dancer and the creator of the T3 tap technique, a methodology reshaping how tap dance is taught in schools. Beyond the stage and screen, Lancelot is a certified fitness instructor and the creator of multiple trade marketed programs, including AB, Salute Fusion Fitness, and B2P2 core training with over 100 foam rollers based core exercises. He's also a number one best-selling author of They Haven't Made an Axe That Can Chop Down Dreams. The
Wow.
host of The Power of Reinvention on Roku iDefine TV and co-host of the New York City Mastermind Experience podcast, where he explores leadership, mindset, entrepreneurship, and the art of turning setbacks into comebacks. At the heart of everything he does is simple, but has a powerful mission to prove that reinvention isn't just possible, it's powerful.
Mm.
Lancelot, welcome. We're so glad to have you on Voices of Impact today.
Well, Rob, it is my absolute pleasure to hear my resume and bio. I was like, wow, I've not heard it read quite like that. So it's it was nice to hear it. But it's an honor to be here, sir. Honored to be here.
Before we talk about reinvention, the concept, and some of these amazing things that you've built, let's start with you. Who was Lancelot before the pivot, before the reinvention even became possible or necessary?
Well, I'll start from 8 years old. I was athlete first half of my life. And I identified with sports. I came from a wonderful family, fortunately, and I know how fortunate I am because I hear some of the stories of a lot of the people that I do business with and I'm around, and a lot of times it's situations where abuse in families, and I was fortunate enough, and then I count my blessings every day now how lucky and blessed I was to have two parents who were supportive and who at that time could beat the righteousness in you. You can't do that nowadays in America, but if I was out of line, Pops put his hands on me to make sure he knew, let me know who the boss was. So I came from that background, and I thank my parents every single day, and I'm blessed enough to still have my mother and father in my life, and I thank them every day, uh, or as not as much as possible for the discipline they gave me, which in turn has allowed me to be able to do everything that I've been able to do is based off the upbringing I've had. Um, so first half of my life, athlete, and I was very successful at that. And my dad taught me from a young age. He said, "Son, I'll never forget this." He said, "You're going to have to be twice as good as your competition. And if you're not, you're going to ride the bench." That's how it is in America. And he says, "You don't get upset at that. You got to do the work." And then he broke it down to me. He said, if you had a cousin and you had a team and you had a cousin that was on your team and you had to pick between your cousin and somebody else, who would you pick? I said, "My cousin all day, every day." He said, "Absolutely." Now, if you were trying to run a championship and it was between your cousin and somebody who was twice as good as your cousin, who are you going to pick? And he said, "Remember, son, you're trying to win a championship." And I was like, "Dad," I said, "I have to choose the other guy." He said, "Exactly. That's why you got to be twice as good as your competition. Because if you're ever just as good, you're going to ride the bench." And that, without really even knowing it then, has been something that has stayed with me my entire life. That was some words of wisdom, a mic drop, as I called it, that he gave me that has helped me to understand what it takes to be what you want in this world. You have to put the work in. You have to be committed. And it's things like just understanding that everything is accessible. Anything you want to be, you can be. But it's consistency. It's doing that work. It's sacrificing and doing what everybody else doesn't want to do. And that is what has been with me and a part of me since I was a youngster. So that's who I am.
I love some words that you've shared, Lancelot. You have to be twice as good as your competition.
That's
I
right.
love the NBA and I mean I'm a fan of the NBA and I see really good players, excellent players staying on the bench simply
Mhm.
because they are not twice as their competition.
That's right.
I mean it speaks so much. Yeah, that's a game, but it speaks so much in life.
hmm hmm
So let's look at a few things. So, what moment forced you to confront? Let's take, for example, the question, who am I without the role that I once played?
It was the transition. My first half of my life, nothing but an athlete. That's all I dreamt about. That's all that I wanted to do was play sports. And my senior year in college, a new coach came in and him and I clashed. And I wind up getting kicked off the team. Now I missed the practice and then missed the second practice the next week because I had food poisoning. But this coach decided for missing two, not even practices, they were workouts, that he was going to kick me off the team and take my scholarship. So now I had choices to make. What was I going to do? Was I going to allow him to do this, or was I going to leave and accept this type of situation? I decided that I was going to fight. Now, back then, coaches were dictators. Once they say something, that's it. But this guy came in within 2 weeks of knowing me and kicked me off the team. Now, this is a team that I started on and was a star on for 2 years. So I decided to fight. Got my scholarship back. I wound up becoming a hero because I fought my way back on the team and won the last two games for them. This is after him trying to blackball me, after I got back on the team. But what that taught me was that through hard work and What my father told me came up in my mind. It came up in my mind. And I decided to work 7 hours a day for 6 months, 6 days a week. And there was many days I didn't want to work. I didn't want to get up. But I had that thing in my head, you got to be twice as good. You got to work twice as hard. Because of that, the end result was I became a hero in my eyes. I wind up winning the last two games for them, and people still talk about those two games until this day, and how I that what happened and how I overcame that. But what that taught me was that I can do anything. Anything I wanted, I could do if I was willing to put the work in. So then once football was over, I immediately started thinking about what my next step was. I wasn't fearful. I was not fearful because I already knew that I can, if I got through that, they took the one thing that meant everything to me in the world, and it was taken from me unjustly. And then I took it back, fought my way back, and became a hero as far as I'm concerned. So when football was over, I immediately went into trying to figure out what my next reinvention was going to be. And the first thing I did was I started my own business with a friend of mine. It was called Lance Elliott Ray Anthony Productions. And we created um, sporting apparel, customized sporting apparel and t-shirts. And what I would do, I was utilize my who I was because a lot of coaches knew me to get in the door. And once we got in the door, they liked what we had. They would, get contracts. So we had contracts with a couple of colleges. We were doing pretty well. From there, I started to notice that this may not be the what I really wanted to do. It wasn't giving me the spark that football did. And then I went into being a producer. I met a gentleman on the street while selling my t-shirts, a guy by the name of Richard Willis Jr., an incredible writer and producer. He met me, we got to talking, and because I understood that I could do anything I wanted, I then went into producing and executive producing. And what happens is when you believe in yourself, when you have systems and structures set up, which I didn't even know I had at the time. I understand about systems and structures now because that's what I studied. But there was things that I was doing, such as is 5 keys to reinvention that I utilize it every time I reinvent myself. Now, I didn't realize I was doing that until years later when I started analyzing it. Number one, and first key is you are all you need to get everything that you want in your life. Understand that nobody else is coming out here to help you, that you're going to have to work for it. Number two, you have to surround yourself around people, like-minded people who are doing what you're trying to do. Get away from the negativity, surround yourself around those kind of people that are doing what you're doing. Number three, you have to educate yourself fully and whatever it is that you're doing. Athletics, if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, whatever it is, you educate yourself. And we have no excuses now, especially now, because you don't have to go to school. You can get on Chat GPT, you can get on the internet, you can get on YouTube. There's a plethora of information to your disposal. So you educate yourself. Number four, you have to be relentless in your pursuit of whatever it is that you want. You have to be willing to work and get a little bit better each and every day. 1% better. It's the small intentional things that you do on a consistent basis that creates massive internal shifts. So you can do anything again if you have systems and structures in place that you follow on a daily basis. One of those systems and structures is the 5 keys to reinvention. Number four is, like I said before, relentless pursuit, consistency, which is probably your superpower because that's one of the hardest things to be able to do is be consistent day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out. That's difficult. If you can stay consistent and then believe, which is the most powerful thing, believe that you can achieve, there's not a thing that you can't do. And those are the keys that I follow every time I reinvent myself. And then the last couple of years, I added the transformational blueprint, which I believe when you can reconstruct the mindset, that's the first offense to getting whatever it is that you want. It's the mindset first. That's the fuel that drives the engine. Without the proper mindset, you can't possibly follow the 5 keys to reinvention. With the mindset, then you just follow those 5 keys and you got it. And I have mastered the art of reinventing myself. I went from a professional athlete to the first one to go back to school and become a professional dancer. That had never happened before. I went from being a professional dancer to a producer. I went from being a producer to an actor. I went from being an actor to a philanthropist. It just goes on to a number one best-selling author, and I can continue to go on, but it's not about what I did, it's how I did it. And my job and my purpose in life is to make sure that I get that out to whoever is looking to reinvent themselves, whoever is looking to listen. This is what you do. And I promise you, if you can have systems and structures set up, you can do anything you want. It doesn't have to be an actor, doesn't have to be a tap dancer, whatever it is. If you want to be a nuclear scientist, follow those same rules and you can do whatever it is that you want. And once you understand that, it's exhilarating, it's exciting. I get up 3:30, 4 o'clock every single morning, and I have a regimen that I do, the transformational blueprint every morning, because the greatest gift I feel that you can give yourself is mastery of your own mind. Once you can master your mind, then you can do whatever you want. And that's what that transformational blueprint is about.
Preach, brother, preach. Two things that really stood out for me: creating a system, not
Mhm.
just a system that's sustainable, and then
Yes,
your mindset. That's so powerful. And I hope somebody is listening to this today.
yes.
So, last night, what was harder for you to let go of? The career, the identity, or everything attached to that each time you reinvented yourself?
Interesting enough, um, it was a little difficult. I know a lot of athletes where it's very difficult to lose that identity. Um, because I always describe it as this. After the lat For most football players, 95% of them, after the last game of your senior year, it's like I describe it as somebody you're standing on a rug, somebody pulls the rug from underneath you, you fall down on your face, and now they tell you, now go out and be a regular person. Because your whole identity, the thing that you've been doing since you were 8 to 6 years old, the thing that everybody's been putting you on a pedestal of, okay, you're no longer that. Now you have to go out and do whatever it is that you do and be a normal person. For me, that never happened. And I'll tell you why. I was in a plane crash, train crash, car crash, and almost drowned when I was 17 years old. Deadly plane crash, person died. Almost drowned, and a friend of mine drowned right in front of me. So these are traumatic experiences that happened within a 6 month period of time. And I never forget the last one was the almost drowning. And that was the most traumatic out of all of them because you're drowning in real time. And then I watched a friend of mine just disappear. So they called my mother, said it's been an accident. She comes down. She says, "Oh my God, what did I do so wrong for all this bad karma to come back on my son?" And at 17 years old, I said, what did you do wrong? What did you do right? I'm still standing. I'm still here. I must be a gift from God. And because of the narrative that I took from those traumas and those pains, I had a dream about 3 weeks later. God came to me, put his hand on my shoulder and said, you, son, have been chosen. You are to be a beacon of positive light and energy to people around the world. Once I heard that, my whole identity changed. And football was a part of it. But the purpose was to be that beacon of positive light. So when I finished football, I immediately started searching for the next thing because I knew who I was and I knew what my purpose was. So I didn't have what 99% of the football players and athletes went through because it's like a rug is being pulled from underneath you. But because I understood my purpose at 17, I never went through that. I never went through that. I knew I was a gift. I knew God had his hand on my shoulder, and it was up to me to figure out what the platform was to be. You see what I mean? So I never had an identity situation where I was like most athletes. I knew the purpose, I knew my why, and my entire life has led me to you, to the stuck to unstoppable, to the transformational blueprint. All of that has been, all the things I've been going through has set me up for this right here. So to answer the question, the identity was never an issue for me because I took the trauma and I took the pain and I switched it, and then God had his hand on my shoulder. And that's real.
That's mind blowing. That's really mind blowing. And for me, when I listen to you, I see your purpose had been shaped very early on. And
Yes,
that has really supported your reinvention and how you direct yourself and where you put your energy. Am I correct?
absolutely. You hit it on the nose. You hit it on the nose. And everything that I've ever reinvented myself, the only thing I did that I didn't understand was I was an exotic dancer for years. And then I started realizing that this ain't, what I'm supposed to be doing. And I was at the top of my game at the time, and I had to make a transition. But everything else I've done has always been done so that I was trying to figure out, is this the platform that is going to give me the opportunity to be that beacon of positive light? I used to do things, I would go into schools and just speak to students. I would do career day. I did my sister's because I come from a family of teachers, so I go to my sister's school and for free I go in and I talk to the kids about career day. I was the keynote speaker at a junior high school in the hood graduation in Brooklyn, in Brownsville, which is a rough neighborhood. I would go I was the at the Bethany House, which is a homeless shelter for women and children. I used to raise money for the Bethany House, and after a couple of years, they asked me to be on the board of directors. So I've always understood my purpose and have followed my purpose. When I didn't know how to do it, I would figure out a way. I would figure out a way because I knew I was on this earth to do God's work. So every time it's that inner voice inside of me that was telling me, come on, it's time for you to do something. You've waited too long, and so you got to do something else. You know what I mean? Because I understood what my purpose was. And that's a powerful thing, the why. And I would encourage people to figure out what your purpose and what your why is. Because if you can figure that out, that is the thing that drags you and pulls you through decades and decades. Because you remember, this is 17 years old, and I still have the same why and purpose.
Wow. So Most of the things you've said, you say reinvention isn't accidental from what I put together or I gathered. It's intentional. From your own experience, what do most people misunderstand about reinvention?
Um, that reinvention is realigning with who you, what I believe, with all the things that are already inside of us. It's not like we are reinventing ourselves into something that we're not. We're just recognizing the gifts that God has given us. I believe, or whoever you believe in. I believe that there's greatness in everybody. And it's about realigning yourself with the greatness that's inside of you. Now, ironically, I'll give you an example. Coming up, I did nothing but play athletics. As I got older, many people, not one, two, like four or five, would come up to me, you should be an actor, man. You should, and that was like an insult to me because back then, athletics and dance and acting didn't mix. That was, so that was an insult to me back then. But people acknowledged and saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And I'm talking about that because I'm saying that and I mention that because it's about realigning with what is already locked inside of you. So people, I guess, saw that I had the artist in me way before I even recognized it or acknowledged it. And it's about realigning. So reinvention is not about being something who you're not. Reinvention is about aligning yourself with what is already locked inside of you. And what most of us don't understand is that we have an inner voice. That inner voice is God because you are God and God is you, telling you that, listen, there's more to you, young man or young girl. But unless you listen to it, unless you walk past your fears, which all fears are is false evidence that appears real. So what you really don't understand is that there's no fear. You create the fears in your mind. And if you just walk through those fears, you can do whatever you want. But the problem is people don't listen to the inner voice inside of them and they let the fear stop them. So they never align what the true greatness that is locked inside each and every one of us. Everybody looking and listening right now, today, you have greatness inside of you. And whether you were abused, whether something happened to you when younger, that's your superpower. Why? Because you have survived it. You are on the other side of it. Use that. Use that to ignite the full potential that is locked inside of you. You are great. If nobody has ever told you that, I'm telling you that without knowing you because we all have greatness locked inside of it. You have to believe it. And if you could believe it, you can achieve it. Sorry. All right.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I want you to touch a little bit on reinvention versus starting over. What do you think makes them similar or different?
I, one of my reinventions, I literally had to start over. Um, so that some people would probably say that reinvention is not starting over, it's realignment, but I would say it's both because I remember distinctly as I'm thinking now, when I went back to school as an adult to become a dancer, and I went to school with kids from 9 to 17 years old, it was like starting over because I was in a situation where nobody knew what I had done before. Nobody knew that I had played professional football. Nobody knew that I had my own business, or did they care? So you're walking into a situation as an adult, taking class with kids. The parents didn't want you there. The administration didn't want you. The only reason why I was there because the guy that ran the school knew that the owner needed men, loved her men, and there was no men in the school at the time. It was just mostly 99% girls. And he gave me a full scholarship, but nobody wanted us to, it was four of us. Nobody wanted us to have it because everybody else is paying. You got these guys that not great dancers coming in and they're giving them the keys to the entire school. So all of that I came into not knowing how to dance, being in a hostile environment, nobody knowing any of the accolades, any of the things that I did in the past. So it was literally like starting over. And I had to humble myself in order to be able to get through this because I was dealing with people that had no idea who I was. But it taught me humility, and going through that taught me that I could do anything. And once again, I all these situations are just fuel to let you know that you can go through. It was emotionally, spiritually, it was hard. It was hard because then I had to restrain myself because the football in me was about physicalness. And you got these young kids being talking junk and you want to pick them up and throw them against the wall because that's what you're used to. But now you can't do that. So now I have to be, I have to restrain myself. I have to have humility and I have to work in order to catch up to kids that have been dancing since they were 2 and 3 years old. But I did it. So to answer your question, it's a combination of both. It is, at least for me. Some people might say you're not starting over. I literally started over, and I know what that feels like. But starting over taught me. It was a lesson. It was a lesson on life. And if you could start over with that, you could start over with anything. And then I'm able to now be able to relay that information to you because that's the first time somebody's asked me that question. But yes, I started over, and you too, you can too.
Yes, I agree with you, and it could be looked from different angles. Could be starting over, it could be realigning, but I think your example really hit the nail right on the head there on how you reinvented yourself. So your work uniquely blends movement, fitness, performance, and mindset. So how has working with the body through dance training shaped your understanding of resilience?
Say that one more time because I didn't hear the first part of the question.
Yeah,
Say
so
that
I was
again.
saying your work blends, it cuts across different areas. So your work blends movement, fitness, performance, mindset. So I was asking, how has working with the body through dance, through physical exercise, training, and some of those other things you do and that you've done shaped your own understanding of resilience?
Oh man, resilience. Well, I would say, especially now, as you get older, the things that you do when you were, I was spectacular at 5% body fat. Year round. I didn't take a whole lot of supplements. It's just this hard work. I've always been that guy that was the guy in the gym that, you look to as, oh, this guy works. And all of a sudden, your body starts breaking down as the years get older. And you have to start redefining how you see yourself. Because when you're at the top of the pyramid, so to speak, for decades, and all of a sudden body is not looking the same, it's deteriorating, Then you got to start becoming resilient and start understanding I have to make a mindset shift. And it can't be about being, massively muscular. It can't be about being 5% body fat no anymore because your body is not allowing you to do that. There's aches and pains that you're going through that are not allowing you to lift and do the things that you did 5 and 10 years ago. That is a punch to the stomach, but it's the mindset that rescues you. It's the structures and systems that you put into place that rescues you and helps you to be resilient because it's still the same system. I still go to the gym 4, 5 days a week. I still believe that I can achieve, but I have to now redirect and reshift how I work out. But the structures and systems are the same. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just now those systems and structures have to be tweaked in a way that my body, who's a little older now, can handle it. But I'm not giving up. So that's resilience because I refuse to give up. I give up when I die. That's the only time I'm giving up. The only time you fail is when you quit. Now, I might not look exactly the same. I might not feel exactly the same, but you can bet your bottom dollar I'm in there every day the same. I do the same work. It's just different. That's crazy. Same work, but different. You know, I'm still in there 2 hours, but now I have to shift it. Now I have to stretch more. I do more cardio. I do less heavy weight, but I'm still in there. That to me is resilience. When you're one thing all your life and life just, you're not that no more, buddy. And this is why. You know what I mean? I have a cousin who is a paraplegic, double amputee. I went to visit him a couple weeks ago. Outlived his mother and his brother. Still living. He's been this way 30 something years. That's resilience. That is resilience. And he's not the same as he is before. He's had to accept where he's at right now, but still have the will to live. That is powerful. That's resilience. Stuff I'm going through is small peanuts is compared to him. Now, some people make it big. You know what I mean? Oh my God, I'm not the same. Look, what am I going to do? I'm just going to quit. No, you just redirect, change. It's about change and it's about resilience. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. I want to touch a little bit of something else that you do. You've spent over 15 years serving on the board of a women's shelter, homeless shelter, and
Yes,
using your talents to raise thousands of causes.
yes.
How did service shape your definition of success?
Um, it's never shifted it. I've always understood that it's my it's my obligation to follow in my purpose. And when I wasn't, that inner voice inside of me said, you need to do this. And how I got to the Bethany House is very interesting because even you're talking, this is 15 years ago, more than 15 years ago, it's probably 20 years ago. I would produce shows and I would take some of the proceeds of the shows and I would give it to different organizations. Why? Because I understood my purpose. Why? Because I always listened to the inner voice inside of me that was telling me this is what you're supposed to be doing. Now, people thought I was crazy. I was producing this with another gentleman who wanted to keep all the profits. I said, no, we're raising money for organizations. Well, the first year, None of the organizations even said thank you. So I said, next year, I'm going to find an organization that I believe in. And somebody introduced me to the Bethany House. And I went up in there and fell in love. And I decided to raise money for the Bethany House. And the first year, I gave them a $10,000 check, partly because I produced it in an area that had that kind of money. So what I did was we raised money from the door, but then we sent a bucket around of people that put checks and money. And by the end of the day, I was able to hand them uh, a $10,000 check. And I then was asked to be on the board, and I served with them for many years. I just recently stepped down about a year and a half ago because, what I didn't understand and learn is that when you're on a board of a nonprofit organization, you can only serve for a certain amount of time. You have to step down and you go back up. You know what I mean? So I had to step down for a couple of years. But being on the board again taught me about service, about giving back, about purpose. And the purpose has always been to be a beacon of positive light and energy to people around the world. And then the inner voice inside of me, the God that's inside of me, has always direct me to where I needed to do and what I needed to be in order to be able to do that. And this is why I was at the Bethany House. This is why I continue to be associated with the Bethany House.
Thank you so much for all the impact you've made. I know, yeah, there are women that are still feeling that impact that you've actually given to the Bethany House. So just looking at your program, it's called Stock to Unstoppable. What does stock really look like to you? And how does someone know it's time to reinvent themselves?
Well, stuck is not who you are, it's just where you are right now. So I don't believe anybody stuck permanently is where you are right now. Now, what was the second part of that question? Because I got on the
Yeah, the second part is how does someone know that
mm.
it's time for them to reinvent themselves?
For me, I can speak for myself, the inner voice. The inner voice inside of you tell we all have it. I just interviewed right before this a young lady, Stephanie, and we talked about that. And she spoke about the inner voice of God inside of us, because you are God and God is you. And how she listened to that inner voice that told her that she needed to do certain things. So you listen. If you listen, you'll hear. You'll hear that person telling you. You'll hear God telling you what you need to do. But it's a matter of you listening and then stepping through your fears. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and for me, it's always been about hearing the inner voice and then doing the work in order to uh do God's work. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So, Lancelot, as we continue or we start to wrap up a few things here, is there something that was not asked or a message that you like to share with someone listening to you right now?
Whoever's listening, you have greatness locked inside of you. You are all you need to get everything that you want in your life. And sometimes you have to take the things that hurt you the most and use it as fuel to ignite the full potential that's locked inside of each and every one of us. Each of us have an inner voice. And you're probably listening to this podcast because you're searching for something. There's an inner voice inside of you that's telling you there's more for you out there, and you're searching. You have found it. Listen to it. The other thing I would suggest, and I'd say to you, is to get into communities of people that are doing what you want to do. Surround yourself around people. Get away from the negativity and surround yourself around people that are doing what you want to do because proximity is power. Proximity is power. The vibrational energy and the vibrate of being around like-minded people. I know because a year ago I wasn't in this space. I didn't do this. But it's because I went to an event, Born to Risk, and I met all these coaches and they started talking about vibrational energy and frequency, and then I could feel the vibes and all these positive people trying to help one another out. And a year later, I created an entire program. I'm talking on podcasts. I'm traveling. I'm about to go to Ireland. All of that because of the people you hang around with. So listen to that inner voice, understand that you're all you need, and surround yourself around the people that you want to most be like. Find communities. They are out there. You don't even have to go to them. You can get online now, but find the communities. Talk to Robert. Talk to him. He'll help you. I'll help you. I'm going to tell you how to get in contact with me. Find the communities and be around them. And I promise you, it will change your whole trajectory because proximity is power.
Vibrational energy. I mean, it's part of what I share with Lancelot is that energy that we support one another. And just that piece alone, it's so big. And I hope somebody's listening to this. Don't do this alone.
Mhm.
Look for people, look for like-minded people that could support you, people that could be around you, share the type of things you do.
Yes.
That vibrational energy, it's just so amazing. And listen to the inner voice.
Mhm.
Just like Lancelot said, it's always there. Listen,
Yep.
listen to it. So last night we have a tradition at the Voice of Impact, which is our
Mhm.
word die, and we have 6 words here, which we would ask you to choose 2 of those words. One of them to speak to your own journey briefly, the other one to speak to somebody listening to us today. And I'll give you the words make a difference, rebuild, overcome, stronger, peace, patience. I'll repeat again make a
Yeah.
difference, rebuild, overcome, stronger, peace, and the last one is patience.
Make a difference would be me, and stronger, I would say, for somebody else. And you know, for myself, since finding my purpose, as we discussed, because of going through some of the things that not some of the things, going through the things that I've gone through, it's about purpose and it's about making a difference. It's about affecting people in a positive way. It's about helping people understand that they too can be anything they want. It's about making a difference. This is what I've been put on this earth to do and to be, and that is to make a difference, make an impact. But I was told it wasn't just local, it was global. So that's what I'll be doing. So I have started this program, but I am determined and I will make a difference to people around the world. Why? Because that is my purpose. That is my why. And that's what I've been put on this earth to do. And I've been told that by God. And that's the only person I got to answer to. So
Beautiful. And then the other one for somebody listening to you.
stronger. I want you to hear me. You're stronger than you ever imagined. You have made it this far because of strength. Take the things, wherever they may be, the things that you think that hurt you, the things, the pains, some of the traumas you might have been through, take those, use them make you stronger, because you have strength beyond belief. You just have to understand that everything, the strength, the love, everything that you want and need is inside of you. You just have to pull it out. And I promise you, if you look hard enough, you'll see that you're stronger beyond belief.
Ah, I love those words you chose and the meaning that you added to that. So, Lancelot, please, if somebody wants to connect with you or the programs, the work you do, tell us the best way that people could reach you.
You can reach me on my website. I got a new website that's out, so I'm real proud of that. Thank you to Michael Stevenson, my branding guy. He got it out. So it's Lancelot Theobald, LancelotTheobald.com. That's one word.com. If you are on social media, Facebook, Lancelot Theobald. And on Instagram, I'm Absolute Fusion Fitness. That's ABSLOUTE, Fusion, FUSION, Fitness, FITNESS, and that's all one word. Get in contact with me. Let's have a conversation. I'd love to talk to you. It's about making a difference. So that was one of the words. That's right.
Yes. Lancelot, thank you for reminding us that reinvention isn't about erasing the past. It's about reclaiming authorship over what comes next. Today's conversation reminded us that where you stand doesn't have to be where you finish. Your past doesn't define your purpose. And no matter where you are right now, reinvention is still available to you. To the person listening, you are not behind. You are not broken. You may simply be standing at the edge of your next becoming.
That's right.
And Lancelot has mapped out so many things in his programs, in his public speaking, in the things that he's reinvented in his own life, which are like examples. If you need any support, please reach out to him. He gave you ways to contact him. And you could reach out to me as well. Even if you want to also reach out through me to him, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to support you. So we are Ndoping & Co. Performance designers and strategy coaches. We support entrepreneurs, nonprofits in establishing what we call a sustainable system, a system that's measurable for output. We coach, we clarify, we redefine, and we build organizations and entrepreneurial strategies, and we build capacity for alignment of a system that gives you back time, establishes a work culture, and provides the strength to withstand some of the turbulences that come with business and even life. This has been Voice of Impact. And we've had an amazing time today with Lancelot. Lancelot, thank you so much for creating the time to talk to listeners on Voice of Impact today.
It's been an honor, man. And thank you for having me.
Thank you too. Until next time, keep listening, keep integrating, keep using your voice, and do not be shy, do not be scared, do not be afraid to reinvent yourself. And it's very simple. Empower as many people as possible, empower as many leaders as possible, touch as many, professionals as I can, be able to make a difference.